It's day 3 at Lord's. The sun is setting, which I guess is a surprise to both of us because I don't think we really thought we were going to be detained much beyond lunch, which I suppose, Vish, we should have realised, having seen what Ireland have done in their recent test outings. They do show a bit of resistance when their back's against the wall, and today, they put on a show that was I think just what they needed, just to leave Lord's with a little bit of an upbeat feeling, like they've actually put on a show and competed a little bit.
Well, the biggest cheer of the match, I think, was when Ireland got over England's first innings lead, so they had to bat again. And that was actually quite touching because it was a standing ovation. It lasted for about a minute or so. And I think there was a real sense that, everyone is pulling for Ireland in some way, in the way that I suppose we all pull for the Test nations who are at the bottom of that list, who are struggling for fixtures. Some are choosing to walk away from it. Ireland are walking towards it. And, it was interesting, Balbirnie, their captain, said in his press conference that the thing we've got to do is show that fight at the beginning of games and not have to wait till our back's against the wall till we start actually showing our true selves. But, I really enjoyed it. Mark Adair, Breen as well. Some of the shots they were playing were ridiculous. And it was really, they were getting under England's collar, even though England were comfortably ahead and they ended up winning by 10 wickets. And there's no way that you'd look at those scorecards and think anything other than England's domination. But to be here, I think you got a sense of frustration, certainly when Broad was getting pumped about for fours. And it was quite enjoyable. It was probably the best day of the three we've had, really.
I think it was, and also from an England perspective, it was the first time they've been challenged. And it was a challenge, I suppose, in a slightly worrying way, because, I suppose the main talking point, Stokes' knee, he took that catch and he buckled and he was clearly in pain. And also, with due respect to Josh Tongue and his 5 wickets, I guess when the ball went flat, England went a little bit flat, didn't they? That need for express pace, even against Ireland on a pitch like this, just a reminder that, England perhaps do need someone like Mark Wood just to be able to shake it up when things go quiet.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things in the lead up to this game was talk of the fact that this Lord's pitch, certainly the Lord's pitches in the middle of the square, had been relayed because, as per Stokes and McCullum's request for fast flat pitches, I think it was something that Carl McDermott, the curator here at Lord's, was going to do anyway, but I think he just decided to do it a certain way because of that request. And so for the first time, it went properly flat today, didn't it? And it would have concerned them to the extent that they might have thought, they've obviously eyed up these quicks for certain tests and the idea that they're not going to play back-to-back tests, and one of those main bowlers is Mark Wood. And I wonder if they had any ideas regarding, playing him in this game. He's certainly going to start at Edgbaston. I believe, that is going to be the case. So does that mean then they actually have to think, we need someone quicker at Lord's because of what we've seen in this match, and because, with all due respect to the way Ireland generally, Australia have a much better batting lineup who could have made hay in that situation. And obviously, in the context of the match situation, it was quite a safe kind of danger. But who knows what will happen in a couple of weeks?
And who knows what happens with Stokes? He has become the first non-wicket-keeping captain to win a Test match, which is quite extraordinary. Five players in total, 4 of them being wicket-keepers, and I believe he nearly was the first player never to take a catch either. Obviously, he did take a catch in the end, so that one got struck off. But he basically did nothing. And for all that he was talking about, I'll be fine for Edgbaston, I'll be able to bowl my full overs, the way he winced when he took that catch, and perhaps his just general demeanour in the press conference, I felt was a little bit downbeat. Where is that knee at? Because it's it's becoming like Beckham's metatarsal now, isn't it?
Yeah, we should mock up something to put in the papers, and we should all pray on it. Touch it and pray at midday of Wednesday next week or before the Ashes starts. I have no problem with him doing nothing. The problem comes from the reason why he did nothing, which seemed to be because of the knee. Because, as you say, he took the catch. Even the way he explained the jarring of the knee in the press conference, it was he was protesting too much, wasn't he? And I think he was downbeat to a point, I suppose, because he was asked if he was disappointed to have only won by 10 wickets instead of an innings. There was a question asked of him, quite reasonably, I thought, about whether there might be a situation going forward where, because of his knee, because he wouldn't be able to play a full all-rounder part, that he might call up another all-rounder and sit himself out. And I suppose we've joked a few times about this idea of a Ryder Cup captain, a non-playing captain, and I wouldn't, not to say that I wouldn't put it past him, because he clearly doesn't want to do it because of his mood and how he approached that question, but it might we might be in a situation where it is a consideration, as ridiculous as that sounds, because Ben Stokes has held the team together for so long, but Ben, not through personality, but through his qualities with the bat and qualities with the ball. And now he's doing it through personality, which is great because it's working. But there'll come a point this summer, surely, where he will have to stump up. And even if he can't bowl in that Edgbaston Test, you'd think every game he plays, every run he makes in the field, puts him further away from being able to bowl those 10 overs in an innings or whatever it might be. So it is a concern, yeah, and I suppose it always has been a concern. And I think the most frustrating thing, I suppose, from a fan and journalist point of view is he doesn't think so, he doesn't really want to talk about it either.
I mean, I'm reminded of Andrew Flintoff on this very ground in 2009. He bowled himself into retirement, essentially. He bowled a magnificent spell, took 5 wickets, barely played again. He obviously got a run out at the Oval to seal the Ashes. Do we start to feel that this is kind of the end game for Stokes already? We're only a year into Bazball, but does it feel like this knee is such an issue that we may be saying farewell by the end of this summer?
I don't think so, but what I do think is whatever the issue is, and he has been very, very coy about it to the extent that we find ourselves Googling other athletes with similar knee injuries. Evidently, it looks like he needs surgery. We don't have to be medical professionals to say that, given how long it's been. And the reason he hasn't had it, presumably, is because of the schedule. Now, England don't play tests until the start of 2024 after this summer with the tour of India. There's no chance he's going to play in the ODI World Cup, not least because he's been quite firm on his retirement. But if he can't bowl, then, with all due respect to him, even though ODI cricket is arguably his best format, there are other people who can fulfil that role. And certainly other all-rounders who can do what he used to be able to do. So I wouldn't be surprised if he comes out at the end of the summer, has an operation, and basically ensures he's fit and ready for the start of 2024 in India. But retirement would be, that would be crazy, wouldn't it? Unless this all ends with McCullum and Stokes, blasting off back to their home planets at the end of the summer, having, England won the Ashes for the first time since 2015 even. Which would be a fitting end to all this, I think. Short and sweet.
Just finally, just because we've segued into all such of the what ifs, I suppose the other what if is what if he does just miss a test? And if on that occasion is Ollie Pope, the designated vice captain, steps up as the Bazball captain. I guess he's just scored a double century. He couldn't really be in a worse position to crack on and make something of it now.
Yeah, I think the conversation around Ollie Pope's captaincy has been interesting because I wouldn't necessarily say that I saw a captain in him when he came through at Surrey. He's certainly someone who has always had responsibility because of the weight of runs he'd always score. But there is an element of do as I do about him. The way he scored that 200, it was pretty easy going. There were pretty easy runs all told, but he just kept going, didn't he? They were like. When he did get out, that put to bed any kind of thoughts of 300, even though he just passed 200, because that was the way he was playing. And even the idea that he didn't, there was no kind of knocking it around to get to those milestones. He was really going hell for leather. And I think he's in such a good place right now, so upbeat and clearly actually very tactically astute. I think one of the things we lose sight of with the Bazballiness of the batting is that actually there's a lot of calculation through that. He plays shots over his head because he's moved the fielders enough that he knows there's no one there, and it looks ridiculous, but it comes from.
Stay professional. We're going to see this out.
It comes from. It comes from a place of thought and clarity, and I think that's probably the best way of describing him right now. He is very clear in his thinking, and I certainly feel a lot more comfortable if he has to go out and, flip the coin opposite Pat Cummins than I did even probably a week ago.
Now, I blame Philip Brown implicitly for this. He's a guy who spends his entire life on the boundary's edge and knows what happens to the sprinklers at the close of play. Hopefully his kit gets soaking because I'm minding it for him while he packs his car. But yeah, we're all soggy. But England are up and running. They've won by 10 wickets. Happy days.
Thanks so much for watching ESPN on YouTube, and for more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app, and for premium content and live streaming, subscribe to ESPN Plus.